Hello and welcome to this channel. This is your learning expert, and today we're talking about repetition equals retention. We know that babies love repetition. Repeating words, songs, or games helps them remember and learn, so don't be shy. Play that peekaboo game one more time. We know that kids will often ask us to repeat things again and again. Sometimes it can feel like we are being naggy, but really they are learning and growing with each repetition. When we repeat, we reinforce the neural connections in our brain. Our brains have so many connections, and the more we use them, the stronger they get. This is true for all learners, not just babies. When we repeat what we learn, we move from short-term memory to long-term memory. The science of repetition has been studied for decades. In 1967, researchers found that when people repeated something immediately after learning it, they remembered it better. Over 50 years later, in 2021, researchers proved that repetition helps not only short-term memory, but also long-term memory. Now let's talk about how we can use repetition in the classroom. There are many ways we can do this. Here are 3 of my favorites. 1. Use repetition in songs and rhymes. Songs and rhymes have repetition by their nature. They help children memorize words and learn about the world around them. Itsy Bitsy Spider is a great example of this. The song goes, "The itsy bitsy spider climbed up the water spout. Down came the rain and washed the spider out. Out came the sun and dried up all the rain. And the itsy bitsy spider climbed up the spout again." The words are simple and easy to remember, and the actions are fun to follow along with. As children sing and play, they learn about the world around them. They learn about the weather, animals, and even social skills. Now, 2, use repetition in games. Games are another great way to help children learn and remember. Playing games is fun, and when children are having fun, they are more likely to be engaged and motivated to learn. Repetition in games can happen in many ways. One way is to use the same game over and over again. Children love to win, and when they keep winning at a game, they start to feel a sense of accomplishment and mastery. For example, if you play a matching game with your students where they have to match the pictures of the animals with their names, they will get excited when they start to recognize the different animals and can match them quickly. Another way to use repetition in games is to use the same rules over and over again. This helps children develop their memory and attention to detail. For example, if you play a Simon Says game with your students, where you give them instructions like touch your nose or hop on one foot, and they have to listen carefully to the instructions and follow the ones that start with Simon Says, they will begin to understand the importance of paying attention to details. And no. 3, use repetition in stories. Stories are a wonderful way to teach children about the world around them. They also help children develop their language skills and their imagination. When we tell a story to a child, we are using language in a creative and engaging way. This helps children learn new words and phrases and understand how to use them in context. We can use repetition in stories in many ways. One way is to repeat the same phrase or sentence over and over again. This helps children remember important ideas. For example, if we are reading a story about a little girl who goes to the zoo, we might say, "The little girl saw a lion. She was very scared. The little girl saw a lion. She was very scared." By repeating this phrase, we help the child remember that the little girl was scared of the lion. Another way to use repetition in stories is to repeat the same sound over and over again. This helps children develop their phonological awareness, which is the ability to hear and play with the sounds of language. For example, if we are reading a story about a cat, we might say, "The cat sat on the mat and ate a rat." By repeating the "at" sound, we help the child develop their phonological awareness. There are many other ways that we can use repetition in the classroom. We can use it when teaching vocabulary, when teaching grammar, and when teaching different skills. Repetition is a powerful tool that we can use to help children learn and remember. It is important to keep in mind that every child is different, and some children may need more repetition than others. We should always be aware of the needs of our students and adjust our teaching accordingly. Let's take a look at an example lesson plan to see how repetition can be used in the classroom. This lesson plan is for a first grade class, and the topic is animals. The main learning objective is for the students to learn the names of different animals. To begin the lesson, the teacher will show the students pictures of different animals and say the name of each animal. The teacher will then use a strategy called choral repetition to help the students remember the names of the animals. Choral repetition is when the teacher says something and the students repeat it back to the teacher. So the teacher will say, "This is a dog," and the students will say, "This is a dog." The teacher will continue to show pictures of animals and have the students repeat the names of the animals. After the students have had a chance to practice saying the names of the animals, the teacher will divide the students into 2 teams and play a game called I Have an Animal. In this game, each student will take a card from a deck of cards that has the name of an animal on it. The students will then walk around the classroom saying the name of their animal. When they hear the name of their animal, they must sit down. The last student standing wins the round and gets a point for her team. The teacher will play several rounds of the game until all the students have had a chance to participate. The team with the most points at the end of the game wins. At the end of the lesson, the teacher will review the names of the animals with the students and ask them to repeat them back to him. The teacher will give the students positive feedback and praise them for their effort. As you can see, repetition is a powerful tool that we can use in the classroom to help students learn and remember. When we use repetition correctly, we can help our students be successful in school and in life. Now that you know how important repetition is for learning, you can start using it in your own classroom. Try using repetition in songs, rhymes, games, and stories to help your students learn and remember. If you are looking for more ideas on how to use repetition in the classroom, there are many resources available online and in books. With a little creativity, you can find many ways to use repetition to help your students learn and grow. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. Thank you for watching.